Welcome to Quickshots. Quickshots.
Shots.
Hi, welcome to Quickshots.
What's wrong with our girl? What are you
Welcome
losing?
to Quickshots. I wasn't sure if I was recording or not, so you know, sometimes you catch yourself off guard, and you've got to have a laugh. That's what they say. You got to have a laugh, Schmitty.
Well, that's one thing we bring to this podcast. It's
That is
certainly
the
not,
only thing I bring to this podcast.
Not as much knowledge and data as when James is here, but certainly a bit more humour.
That's right, and a lot of people get the opportunity to laugh at me. So there's that. All right, I'm going to hit you with the first question, or how do you want to do this? What do you want to do?
go
You're
on.
the guest.
Yeah, no, hit me with the first question.
All right, this one's from Brian.
Riser.
The banks are very reluctant to renew a further 5-year interest-only period on my loan. This is severely affecting my cash flow. Any suggestions? How do I overcome this?
Great question, Brian, and something that's challenging for everyone in Australia that owns property, and particularly those who own multiple properties, because servicing a loan is becoming more difficult on the back of the interest rate increases. I guess the one thing you can do to help that is increase your income, and the best way to increase your income is push your rents. So I would suggest that, you know, if Brian, if you have a tenant in there, I assume it's an investment property given your interest only on it. Take the opportunity to push the rents when you can, and that may, in the eyes of some lenders, and I say that, speak to your broker to confirm, but in the eyes of some lenders, may improve your serviceability and capacity to refinance to go again for an interest-only period.
Yeah, I would also ask the banks, like, why? What is it about my file that is preventing you from staying interest only or flicking back to interest only? Because if the answer is the valuation, or the answer is, yeah, like you said, this servicing, your cash flow on your personal income or your rent, then that will give you a pretty good direction of where you need to go. And the other thing you could consider, but you really need to get guided by this properly, is you could cross-collateralize that loan with another property that is performing very well. Or you could bundle them in together. Now, you got to know what you're doing there. James admits he did that. He had a property that wasn't really performing very well and one that performed very well. He had to basically bundle those loans in together so that he could put it all back as interest only, and then it allowed him to actually buy another property.
Yeah.
But you've got to know what you're doing there. You've got to understand.
Yeah, 100%. And just before we move off, Brian, there's a couple of other things you can also implement, and that's to reduce bad debt. Consumer debt, try and reduce that. The banks don't look favourably upon that. And you can also try and pay down some of your owner-occupied debt too if you do have cash or such lying around. And failing that, go search for a different lender and see if you might have, any chances there. Alex, question for you has come in from Emily. And Emily's wondering, she bought a property in 2017. It's a unit in the city. It's currently cash flow negative, and she's considering selling it and was wondering whether that's a good idea or not. She used to live in it, so it's been converted to an investment property and is now considering selling it given the cash flow and it hasn't grown.
The truth is, I cannot answer that question. The 3 questions that I would be going to find out if I was in your situation: number 1, if you used to own it, what capital gains tax might you pay on it? Maybe you'll pay none if you say it's not gone up. I don't know if you mean that hasn't gone up in the last year or at all, but go and find out what capital gains tax will you pay if you are to sell that. Number 2, I would find out, can you increase your rent? Did she say what city it was? Sorry?
Melbourne.
Oh, okay. So can you increase your rent? I know a lot of people who are increasing their rents, especially in the city at the moment, because rents are very much back to pre-pandemic and high occupancy. So can you increase your rent? And then the last thing is, what's the market appraisal? Go to a real estate agent that specialises in sales and specialises in sales in the city. I'd say don't ask your property manager, because, they're 2 different professions there. They might have they might both be able to do it, but I'd say separate that. Go and get a market appraisal. If you sold it today, realistically, what are you going to get? And then if you find out those 3 answers, can you hear the bloody ambulance outside my thing? Oh, Jesus Christ. I've obviously just dropped my new mixtape. Anyway, so I would find out the answer to those 3 questions, and then I would make an informed decision based on that. Because you got to remember, like, you know, are you going to pay tax on this, or what is your loss going to be, etc.
Yeah, no, great. Great answer there, Alex. And I think also just to add to that, if it's affecting your ability to purchase more property, which cash flow negative assets typically do, it would probably be worth considering selling it and reallocating that money into, you know, something that's going to generate you a better cash flow. Anyway, talk to your brokers, talk to your agents, talk to your property specialist. Now, Alex, you're on such a roll. I'm going to roll you into the final question. And it hits close to your home. In fact, it is your home. It's from Devneet. And Devneet was wondering, would you invest in Melbourne for long term, or would you suggest another city? If so, which city?
Jeez. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge endorser. I'm the ambassador of Melbourne. But it's not about the city, it's about the suburb. And you need to find a suburb or a local government area, municipality that has got really strong population growth, has got a lot of job growth and very good infrastructure growth. It's not so much about the city as it is those 3 things. But of course, Melbourne is, you know, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, and you are definitely going to be negatively geared in Melbourne because the prices are sort of, you know, around that, depending where you look, but in the growth corridors that we're in, you're probably looking between 650 and 750,000, and you might be lucky to get that rented for $450 a week. Now, contrary to what you just said, Mitch, sorry, and it's okay, we can all have different opinions. Negative gearing is not a bad thing. Like, if it's negative, it's okay, but you've got to be in an area that's going to be experiencing growth. Obviously, seriously negative assets that do impact and debilitate your ability to do anything. Obviously, that's a little bit different. But yes, long-term Melbourne, absolutely sensational place. It's all going to come down to your borrowing capacity and if you can afford to buy in there. I would say, Devneet, considering that you're asking, you may indeed be looking at something already. Just make sure it's in a high growth area. Population growth, job growth, infrastructure spend. Chabelier.
Nice. And so, you know, one other thing to add to that before we finish up.
Oh, you said that like 5 times, by the way. Clang.
Just want to get the last word, Alex. But international migration is going to be turned on pretty soon, and Melbourne is a city that typically benefits from a lot of international migration.
Yeah.
So, you know, that will have an impact on capital growth long term. So I think that you can't go wrong buying in and around Melbourne, particularly from a growth point of view.
I mean, geez, if you got a couple of $1 million, you may as well build a whole student accommodation sector.
Hey.
Yo, about
with a 3D printer.
Print a 3D student accommodation. Oh my God. Internet broken. I've got to go.
You can have the last word, Alex. I know you wanted it.
I've got to go.
Thanks for having me. Goodbye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of The Double Shot with your favourite cousins, Alex and James Fitzgerald. If you've got a burning question or something we absolutely need to talk about on the pod, please write to us. Both of our emails are in the show notes. For little real estate tidbits and a little bit of banter, okay, a lot of banter, you can follow us on the gram. Our handle is thedoubleshot.podcast. That, my friends, is thedoubleshot.podcast. Until next time, think of us when you sit back and sip your next double shot.